I declare the meeting, Councillor Swap. Don't let me get the gap. Was it? What do they call it technically? A gable?
A gap.
Gavel. Gavel. Right, at 6 p.m, I declare the meeting open with a public briefing agenda. So once again, congratulations to all our re-elected and newly elected councillors. Welcome to the team. Tonight we'll run through the public briefing. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditions of the Nala people on whose land we are gathered here today. And just to remind all attendees, including staff who are public and the new councillors in particular, that this meeting will be live streamed and a recording of the meeting will be made available. Okay, 2 is the election of Deputy Mayor and declaration of office. The declaration of office has occurred for many of the new councillors. The Deputy Mayor election will be held next week at the start of the OCM, where then there'll be a declaration of office for the Deputy Mayor. Any questions on that while we're on that topic of the Deputy Mayor election? No? Other than, well, I will say for those who are thinking about nominating, you can get your nominations, if you get your nominations in, obviously, before the meeting, that would be appreciated. Otherwise, you can simply nominate on the night. And there will be opportunity for those who are putting their hand up for the Deputy Mayor position to do a statement or sort of have a bit of a speech around why it is you would like to be Deputy Mayor and what attributes you'd like to bring to the role and such forth. So yeah, have a think about that over the next week. Okay, so this meeting, item 3, the purpose of the public briefing session is for councillors to ask questions, obtain additional information related to items for consideration at the next ordinary council meeting. No decisions are made at a public briefing session. And even though this is a public briefing for those new councillors, the meeting procedures, the standing orders will apply. Councillors can ask questions and they have to be answered by the CEO or a person nominated by the CEO. As I said before, it'll be live streamed. Item 4 is a record of attendance. We have everyone here apart from our councillor-elect Martin Byrne, who will be here next week to be sworn in, and Councillor Gillam, who also will be in attendance next week to be sworn in. That's all I've missed, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yep, 2. Okay, item 5 is public question time, of which we have no public other than the staff or public at the start. You have an opportunity as staff members, being public people, if you would like to ask a question of the CEO. This is the time. No? Okay, we'll move on from that then. Item 6 is petitions, deputations and presentations, of which we have none. Declarations of interest. Those councillors who have a declaration of interest, now is your time to let us know what they are. Councillor Furlong.
Yes, agenda item 13.3. I have an indirect financial interest as Rio Tinto, who are the funding partners for the Weekend Shade. My husband works for Rio Tinto.
Thank you, Councillor Furlong. Councillor Roots.
Yes, for can I just check first though, just to be certain that item 10.5 steps individual. And community research.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, just 13.3. So Rio Tinto is a funding partner for the centre, and my husband is employed as well.
Thank you. That's all the declarations of interest. Yes. Something comes up through the agenda you think about, please let us know. Item 8 is confirmation of minutes, of which we will deal with next week. 9 is announcements by a person presiding with that discussion. As you can see, I was relatively busy in September. Lots of meetings. In particular, though, there was one here on the 13th of the 9th, the UIAWA Awards for Excellence, at Crown Perth, where the City of Karratha won Local Government of the Year for urban development, which was a fantastic outcome. And now I guess that we're back in Karratha and we're live streaming. I'd like to publicly say that a big congratulations to our staff, in particular, that were involved in the project, and to the councillors who had that's a good word. That wasn't the first word that popped in my head, but the courage to make the decision to pursue some of our housing projects. And for that, we won an award, which was great recognition. Okay, 10 is the corporate and commercial reports with 10.1 being statements for period ended 31st of August 2025, with the officer's recommendation on the first page. Does the council receive the financial statements for the financial period ending 31st of August 2025, as shown in attachments 1 to 4? Does anyone have any questions on our statements? Councillor Simpson?
Just as I'm going through the report, and I'm going to guess there is some, when I turn to the page where it talks about our revenue and percentage up and down variations, there's a couple that sort of jump out, but hoping that it's going to be, I see an increase of 446% inflow. I'm seeing a minus 100 of financial activity inflow and down. I'm guessing it's about the rates coming in and stuff, but just wanted to get some clarification of some really big figures in those percentages in movement at this time. But I'm still more background to it. We kind of issue to that.
Yeah, look, why don't we take that on notice and we'll provide you with a well-constructed response to that.
Also, sorry, one other one. I was just reading the capital expenditure, and some of the significant projects was the Hancock Way housing development. I think the last meeting we were looking at when we could go and
review them.
Yeah, and then also how the rental component of that was coming along, if we'd actually put it out to market yet and utilising the new guidelines.
So, Councillor, what do you mean by new guidelines? Sorry,
with the housing guidelines, was one of those houses? Am I getting confused?
So I'm understanding what you're saying. So, we have a council policy that relates to making properties available for service workers and things like that. Yeah,
yeah.
And you're talking about, do we allocate that out? Look, I think so the simple answer is no, we haven't advertised it at this point in time because we haven't got to the point of really practical completion, right?
That's right.
And I probably want to be closer to a clear end date before I start making commitments to renters. We're not at that stage yet. We're very close, but as you know, with building projects, there will be some final things that need to happen to make it. But what I can tell you is that as soon as we have those properties nearing completion, we've got certainty around dates that keys will be available and we can make them tenantable. We will be managing that.
Any other questions?
There's only one, and I was just going to ask how the footpath plan was progressing and how we're going within the 10-year plan. And is that updated on the website?
Through the chair, it's we've got an item up on the agenda tonight for the next 9, which will be the carryover from last financial year. So we're definitely at least a year behind in footpath delivery. That's on the back of our concrete contractor falling over.
Yep.
So tonight we're awarding 9 with provisions in the contract to do extra once we finish the design of this year's work.
I have a quick question as well, because I've been looking at the agenda for a couple of years now where we struggle to spend our money sometimes because projects are delayed due to people numbers or contractors availability. But I have noticed our expenditure has been up. So I guess my question is, are we seeing a bit of a relief in the market now where we have contractors and people back in town and jobs are getting done? Have we sort of, I guess, hit that curve where we're starting to see projects actually
Yeah, I think through the recent tenders that we've awarded, we've had number of tenders and good pricing. I think the Wickham shade that's on as well tonight is a good sign that whether they're getting our estimating right or the market's favourable. But yeah, we're seeing lots of interest in working for the city. Contractors reaching out for opportunities, which is a good sign that we're able to get through. We haven't had to halt anything yet because we can't get any bids this opportunity.
That's good news. It makes me think that we've turned a corner, and if people are starting to look at Karratha and come here, and there's work available, and we're having the ability now to actually spend our capital on community assets, infrastructure. Okay, any other questions on the statements? No? All right. Next is 10.2, which is the list of payments. Does anyone have any question on our list of payments? So I'm looking for Councillor Wallstrom Muller.
Well, I'll take up that back. I've got a couple. 14.33. There's payment of 5,937 to the city of Geraldton.
So I'm going to hazard a response. I'll confirm it, but we have had a similar question before. We provide funding to other councils as part of distributing long service leave provisions. So as employees move from one council to the next, they can take their long service leave provision with them. And so each council then sends the funds for that has been accrued at our stage, they forward it on to the next employer, and that's sort of a common practice in local government. I suspect that's what's happened there, and so let me confirm if it's anything different. Yeah.
I think that answers. I had 15,342.
There was a couple
which is definitely long service, but I think the city of Geraldton, it doesn't mention long service.
Okay, all right. Well, let's take that on notice. But thanks for that, Councillor.
Any other questions for the list of payments?
Yes, in the sample of large payments, and it's not to actually do with the payment, it's actually to do just notice with Corpse Earth moving, doing the Karratha to Whit Road upgrade. One thing I noticed that is missing from that upgrade, when they started it, probably for you, Michael, there was a sign that says no breaking down of trailers. There's one on Mulligan Drive in, but the one going to Coolanga's disappeared in the upgrade, and it never came back. When I do drive down Anderson Road, there's a lot of trails being broken up, and you go, oh, and they're sort of there. So, but if they haven't got the sign there, I really can't ask me for. So the sign used to be saying this, it hasn't come back after the upgrade. That was all.
Oh, we can sort that and get an answer to that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Councillor.
Any other questions? I have one. On page 12 at the very bottom, 10109. Just a query on paying a fine to the Fines Enforcement Registry of Department of Ag. I was just interested to know what that was.
I will definitely take that one on notice.
FERS lodgement.
FERS lodgement.
FERS lodgement.
Through the chair, the FER is the Fine Enforcement Registry, but typically it's us referring unpaid infringements through to the registry, and they undertake the debt collection for us.
Okay.
It seems unusual that the Department of Ag would have a fine from us though, so we'll look into it.
Yeah. I thought, out of all of them, I thought that's an interesting one. I've never seen before. That's all. Okay. Any other questions on this payments? Right. 10.3. Our investments for period ended 31st of August 2025. Office recommendation saying the council received the investment report for the financial period ending 31st of August 2025. Are there any questions on our investment outcomes? Good. Straight to good. Yeah. You happy with that? Yeah. No further questions on. Okay. 10.4 is the appointment to committees and advisory groups. The offer's recommendation on page 28, and that is that council appoint the following council representatives. As you're all as you're all aware, even Councillor Harris is aware of this. We have our committees, of which we have multiple numbers of councillors attached to. They are all vacant and up for grabs next week. So again, you'll see in the list there in the recommendation, you get the council advisory and working groups. You've got the statutory ones, which is the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. All councillors are part of the CEO Performance Review Committee. You have external groups, a large number of external groups, of which the Regional Development Assessment Panel still has myself and Councillor Simpson have done the training, and I think our term expires in January. So, yeah, we'll still be there. And then the other one is actually a question I had was the WA Local Government Association State Council. Because I know in the past, typically the chair of the Pilbara zone is the state council rep. So I'm not sure that needs to be or should be in the agenda.
I think I asked a similar question when the papers were being crafted, and I think what it is that we submit a name to go into consideration.
Okay.
But then you have to go through and be selected to be the Pilbara Country Zone chair, and then but at least we're from our council's perspective, we're saying this is the person we're putting forward.
Is that the path, or is the path being the chair of the Pilbara zone?
I always thought it was a chair through you, Mr. Mayor. I always thought it was the chair. So I thought as we came together as a zone, so the first zone meeting after the election, we elected the chair, and then the chair would then be the one, or from that Pilbara zone that we could say, oh, well, will be our rep, will be councillor so and so.
So can I take that question on notice, and we'll provide more information. I do know we actually received correspondence from Walga. They provided us with guidance as to what should go into the agenda paper. So I'll cross-reference to that, but let's just confirm that we're clear on what the pathway is.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, no problems. And also included in there are the terms of reference for the advisory groups, which are attachments that you can read through, the terms of reference. We're going to adopt them and then obviously put names of councillors to all those advisory groups, including the external bodies. So are there any questions on this process? Councillor Roots?
Yes, please. If I could just find out, I'd feel much more comfortable if we at least rejigged a little bit and went through terms of reference prior to, I know this is just minor procedural, but if we could go through the terms of reference prior to nominating who will sit where. I know it may not have much bearing, but if we could look at the terms of reference of each group and then nominate who will sit on which group. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're talking about next week when we go through the OCM, just
I don't know whether that has to be formally changed in the sequence that we do things, just that number one was nominate.
So in terms of the order of the recommendations, the mayor can manage that at the council meeting. Right.
Yes, let me just go back up. So we've got, so that's sitting in
page 29. I think there's
item 2 on it, review terms of reference. I see what you mean.
Just if we could review the terms of reference.
And then we choose
particularly because the Arts Advisory Committee has been null and void for a very, very long time. So it'd be great to go through terms of reference prior to appointing who's on the advisory committee.
So I guess the only problem is next week we're just making decisions.
Correct.
So if we're going to review the terms of reference, it really needs to be done prior to the OCM.
Okay.
In fairness to the councillor, the recommendation is to review the terms of reference. So that is the recommendation that's been put.
Yeah.
But I would through you, Chair, I think we have proposed what we believe the reviewed terms of reference should be, and I'd really welcome any feedback during the week.
Sure.
And taking on board your comment, the mayor can consider the order of proceedings as a result. But any concerns or questions or comments about the terms of reference would be really welcome during the week.
Yeah.
And then what we can do is provide council with an updated version ahead of time, and then that allows the process for next week's meeting to run a bit more smoothly.
And I guess what we're doing as well is that the recommendation is for us to review them, because who adopts the terms of references, each group on their first meeting adopt the terms of reference. Is that correct? No?
Through the chair, certainly in terms of the advisory groups, the first meeting will review the terms of reference and accept the terms. We do know that a couple of advisory groups will go through that process. With regard to some of the terms of reference, so they are external bodies, and therefore we can't necessarily provide feedback on them.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to get at, is just more clarification for everyone about if they're giving opinions about terms of reference through the week. There's a few bodies that are external. There's the advisory groups that will also be looking at the terms of reference and adopting them at their first opportunity on their first meeting.
Yeah, the city ones do say amended by resolution of council though, so it would be good to.
So through the chair, if the advisory group does make changes to the terms of reference, it will come back to this forum or to the council forum to adopt them.
Yeah, and picking up on the director's comment, I do agree with that. This is about providing clear terms of reference so that when a elected member is nominating, they understand what it is that they're nominating. We're creating a clear starting point. All of these advisory groups will have a sense of what they would like to see. They'll have the opportunity to review. Any reviews will come back here. So it's the process that we're talking about for next week doesn't have to negate an advisory group doing a review and then requesting changes in the future. That can always occur.
Yeah. But I would say that if you read through the terms of references and you have some recommendations for changes to those terms of reference, then that is what we need to know before the OCM next week.
Okay, sure.
That was a good question.
Very good, yeah.
Okay, any other questions on that item? All right. 10.5 has been withdrawn. Attachments there. 10.6. Okay, 10.6 is the key performance measure results for 24-25. With the officer's recommendation on page 40 that council receives the annual performance report for 2024-25. Are there any questions of our KPIs? KPIs out there. KPIs.
I do. There's a couple in the economic section. 2.A, 2.1D. And when it talks about annual last year, it's not available. One is about, business online. Is that because it rolls over into the next quarter?
No, that was simply we didn't track it last year or the previous year, 23-24. We didn't track that as a KPI. That's all.
And there's a couple of those.
Hence why it's not applicable.
And there was one other. Was 4A23B. I've found myself now. Reducing the number of lost time injuries. So I kind of don't understand the numbers. So the target obviously was 9.7. The annual actuals was 21. So I'm not sure where the 24.5 then came from.
That was the previous year. Okay. So we're comparing year with year. So those last two columns, 21.6 is the current year just concluded.
Yeah.
24-25, and then the 24.5 relates to 24-24. Sorry, the 23-24 year.
Okay. Okay, and that's where the 30% then comes from.
Yes, answered.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions on our key performance measures? I had one, and I think maybe this is more about providing the table and who's tuning into some context just around, because I appreciate this is last year, but in 2.C.1.1A, the supply of undeveloped residential zoned land that can be subdivided and developed. We have the annual target being 300 hectares, the annual actual being 335, and the last year being 349. And the comments being that sufficient supply of zoned or structured plan residential land available for subdivision. And it is like it's available basically, and lots are being developed in Madigan this calendar year, with Mullataga next calendar year. As far as I'm aware, in Madigan's next lots being developed, there's only 9. And they'll be taken up by some builders.
Through the chair, there's a significant amount of lots currently
Okay.
being developed.
And that's why I wanted to ask the question, because the information I've been getting, particularly from builders who call me and complain about there not being enough land to build on and such forth, and provide me with information, they're saying they can't get access to land, and they're saying Madigan's only going to have 9 blocks. So there's more.
There is more than that. I can't recall the exact numbers, but we meet with Development WA on a monthly basis, and they provided us with an update on the subdivision last month. So I'm happy to provide an email to council tomorrow just to confirm.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think it's important for everyone to understand, the market and how much land is available, and what the government and Development WA are releasing in the future. And then also, as I understand it, is Mullataga is stage 1 looking to be ready for the middle of next year?
Through the chair, the intent is it will be commenced next year. When we have lots that are available, I think will depend on how the tender process goes.
Right.
And contractor availability.
Yeah, that tender process I think is supposed to start through January. Yeah. So there's land supply coming. At the moment we're a little bit tight though. Okay, any other questions?
Sorry, just one with so it's under community KPI. Something that I did notice was a bit of a sore point in community was swimming pool inspections, and I figured that I had assumed that it might have been a resourcing issue, and that's confirmed through the report. But I just was wondering if there was an update.
The update is that we're about to commence recruitment. So it's as per the advice in the council report.
Oh, okay. So I was just hoping there was maybe not. Yeah, not yet. Sorry.
That's okay.
There was something that people said it was really peculiar hours. Is that just because the person who's currently doing it is only available?
They're available 3 days a week, but they are full time during those hours. So there is a reasonable spread.
Yeah.
The reality is that we typically have very low response rates. We find that the residents here don't get back to us. They take on a lot of chasing, and that we're not. Where in some regions you might be more confident in advising that we will be there on this date and entering the property.
Yeah.
We're less likely to do that here because of the issues that we have, particularly around dogs. So we're not sending somebody onto the property without ensuring that they either don't have a dog on the property or they've securely confined it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on our key performance measures? No? All right, 10.7 is the 2026 council meeting dates. The officer's recommendation on page 54 and 55. That is the council approve and advertise the following schedule of the 2026 meeting dates for the ordinary council meeting and public agenda briefing session, noting meetings that commence at 6 p.m. in council chambers. So you have on the left all the public agenda briefing session dates, all being a Monday, and then on the right the ordinary council meeting dates, all being on a Monday, apart from April the 28th. which is a Tuesday, which I think in the report was business of public holiday. Is that right?
I'd suggest.
Now we're looking for councillor Nunn.
Yeah. And also that we're going to advertise the annual electors meeting for Tuesday, the 3rd of February 2026 at 6 p.m. in council chambers. And we're going to note the following schedule for the 2027 meeting dates as well for the ordinary council meeting and the public briefing agendas. They're listed there, almost identical, and with a couple of dates being on Tuesday due to public holidays. So are there any questions on any of these dates? Do you know what you're doing in 2027?
Through the chair, we thought we'd be really organised. Sorry, councillor. Cut you off then.
Has the start time ever gone out to the community for consultation based on we are a shift sort of working town? A lot of people don't finish till 6 p.m.
Oh, the public briefing and
Yeah.
6 p.m. time. I'm not aware.
Yeah, through the chair, in my time we haven't. But we've tended to take guidance from getting councillors around the table, but I think your point is a good one. I'm happy to take council's guidance as to whether or not you want to put that to community to review. But the quick answer is no. In the last few years, we haven't sought the community's view on that. Yeah.
I think also with live streaming, as we're doing today, it sort of involves community want to get involved. But I think Councillor,
I was just trying to think. I think in my time we had it earlier.
Yeah.
5, I think. So we have over the years dragged it out because we thought, 5 was a bit early.
Councillors trying to get the week.
I had a bit of feedback previously. I heard rumours it was because of Kelly and Gary Bailey.
Yes, well, yeah, that's true.
So they're no longer here, and technically it could.
No, so it was 5. It was 5 p.m. when we had Councillor Nunn and Gary here, and then
From the Eastern Corridor.
Yeah, from the Eastern Corridor. But then, I think actually it might have been when our new CEO came on board that the time changed. I'm not. Don't quote me. I don't know if that's true.
I was going to say.
Okay, but anyway, but we did move it to 6 p.m. because of those reasons.
Thanks, councillor, for the support there.
But if councillors feel that we want to put it out to community, then that's no problems. We have an opportunity next week at the OCM to do amendments to the agenda item if people feel that that's something the community would like to be part of.
Just on that, following from Councillor Johansson's question, would there ever be a possibility, if it was far enough in advance, since we're so far in advance in this notice of motion, to be able to have a meeting during the day?
So
is that a possibility?
So it's true to say that there are a lot of councils that have meetings during the day. It's not uncommon.
Sure.
Yeah, we've got councillors. There's a lot of them that will have meetings. Yeah, so look, that's absolutely. It's completely in your. It's completely. Okay. Yeah, completely possible.
Yeah. I think, and you're right. There's lots of councillors around the state that have their meetings on different days to us, different times.
Yeah.
However, I think the history of this council has just been because it's a working town, and there have been people on council that have done shift work or do 12-hour days in the past, and I think that's why we've always held them sort of in the evening. But as the city grows and our society sort of shapes in a different direction and changes, then all those things are possible. But next week we will be adopting these dates. However, it doesn't mean that they can't be changed in the future, particularly 2027. Yeah.
Do have another question in relation to the annual electors meeting as well, being on Tuesday the 3rd of February.
Yeah.
So the first day back at school, which I don't think would attract many of the community members. I know that we're also hamstrung with the 56 days after council accepts the report, but I'm just wondering if there's any way of revisiting those hours, those timeframes, to potentially get a better turnout at that meeting. Even though last year was pretty great, so hopefully that's the beginning.
And I have been remiss, Chair, in mentioning that we have a new Director of Corporate Services with us, Chloe Morris.
Apologies, Chloe.
Yeah, I really apologize. You actually have like fitted so you fit it in so seamlessly. I haven't even thought to introduce you. And Chloe has actually come from the city of Camden in the western part of New South Wales, and which is a very large, one of the largest Sydney councils, and brings an awful lot of experience to the table, and we've really happy to have her here. The question around the electors meeting did get raised with me this morning, and I did ask the director to have a look at it. So could I ask you to have a response to that?
Yes, and through the chair. You're right, we are hamstrung a little bit by legislative requirements. We are required to accept the auditor's report by the end of December. We are planning at this point to take it to the meeting on the 15th of December, and then we have that 56-day period that follows that. So at the moment, the latest we could push that out is the 9th of February. So we've currently got it scheduled for the 3rd, but if council was of the mind to, the latest we could push that out is the 9th. It is a bit of a buffer point for us in case we had any delays in the auditor's report. But yeah, so legislative timeframes that kind of sit around that determines the dates for us.
Well, there's some wiggle room.
There's a little bit, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Jansen,
Can it be a weekend day? Does it have to be a weekday?
question?
Yeah, good question. I'm just having a little bit of a think about the logistics around that. Look, I'm happy to take that on notice and give it some thought. I mean,
Can it not be? It's like mid-basketball season. Just you hold it at the leisure place.
Yeah. Fun. That'd be a real town hall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That would be our best attendance.
Exactly.
yeah. I think, I mean, clearly we have staff that are supporting you. Doesn't mean that we can't request staff to be there on the weekend. I just need to give that some thought. I haven't heard of electors meetings being held on the weekend in other local governments. Doesn't mean it can't be considered. But yeah, can we take that on offline and on notice? Yep.
Okay, so as far as we know, the 9th of February is a possibility.
Or up to the 9th of February.
Sorry, up to the 9th of February is the latest date. We can't really go before. Can't go before because we have a meeting in January.
Well, so through the chair, I'm suggesting between the 3rd of February and the 9th of February.
Yeah.
And the 3rd is a Tuesday, so effectively you could do it any time during that week, assuming we stick to weekdays. And then the 9th is the following Monday. We're trying to avoid, I think, the 9th. I'm just having a bit of a look. Oh no, so we could do it on the 9th. Yeah. So anyway, so that's the guidance there, is you've effectively got that week to, if you did decide that you wanted to move it.
And if we could get a response to Councillor Johansson's question, so that
Around the weekend.
so that by Monday next week, we also know what
Sure.
possibilities are
Right.
coming our way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Just one.
Yes.
And it's just about that community engagements part of it as well, and whether or not those meetings can be set up as events on Facebook and on socials, so that they can actually go into people's calendars, and the link to the YouTube and location and things like that can be shared. And then when the team's sharing, you know, the highlights of the agenda and things like that, they can be within that. Or sharing that just to get a bit more community engagement.
Yeah, through the chair.
You really do want to hold it at the Legiplex, don't you?
I don't see why we couldn't take that on board and look into such a thing and do it like an event with socials and the like. Yeah.
No more questions? Right, we move to 10. We attachments to the calendar. 10.8 has been withdrawn. So we move to 11, which is community experience reports, with 11.1, being the extended hours library services pilot, with the office recommendation on page 60, and that is that council approve a 12-month extension of the hours of the Karratha Library effective February 2026, with the opening hours until 7 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday, and Sunday access from 9 to 2 p.m. And 2, approves by absolute majority an unbudgeted allocation of $60,000 for an additional half full-time equivalent, and a one-off $7,000 training cost for all Karratha Library staff to meet liquor license requirements, because that venue does have a liquor license on it, so all staff need to have the training regardless of the sale of alcohol, to be identified during the next budget review.
And through the chair, we've got a presentation.
Oh, there's a presentation
for
yes.
councillors to. So over to you, Manager.
Thanks, councillors. As a result of the notice of promotion at the annual electors meeting, a survey was conducted to measure the community desire for extended hours at one or more libraries. The survey was conducted between July and September this year. We had 61 responses. Most of them were from Karratha Library users, and those outlined some support for extended access, particularly at Karratha Library. We also conducted a soft time and motion study for 8 weeks. That was conducted between 3 p.m. and closed weekdays and Saturdays at Karratha and Wickham libraries. The findings showed demand for later hours and weekend access at Karratha. We also conducted some benchmarking against other libraries. We compared our libraries against 21 regional and 21 metro WA libraries. The regional libraries had average hours of between 9 and 4:30 weekdays, 9 till 12:30 Saturday and closed Sunday. And the metro was 9 till 6:30 weekdays, 9 a.m. till 2:30 Saturday, and 11:30 till 4 on a Sunday. There were no other regional libraries that are open Sundays in WA. So our recommendation is to trial extended hours at Karratha Library from February 2026 to 2027. That will include extending our hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays until 7 p.m. Currently, we're open till 6 on those days, and also opening on a Sunday from 9 till 2. At this stage, we're not proposing any change to the Wickham Library, but we will continue to monitor usage and community feedback during this time.
Thanks, Senator.
All right, any questions, Councillor Roots?
Can I just check for our people watching at home, will they be able to see?
No. So
The presentation.
yeah. So just for council and the public's knowledge, we've introduced this presentation process. We're able to do it through, in order to actually make it a live stream presentation, the technology was going to cost us in the vicinity of $100,000. So we decided that the approach that we would take is that the community can listen to the presentation, and that we would attach the presentation to the pack.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, so that's correct. Yeah, so what we've done is we then attach the presentation to the pack that is then goes out as the OCM pack as a fresh attachment, so people can look at it retrospectively. But we felt the cost was prohibitive, so we didn't progress to that next level of technology.
I just, particularly with this one, there's been so much go into benchmarking where we're at. I think that's really important that we are offering over and above, and I think that's a great point that the community should be able to look at.
Yeah. Should see what sort of numbers we get back in. So, yeah, huge.
Right, any other questions on being able to sit at the library longer?
So Sorry, just with I know we've got some wonderful community organisations that use REAP to late at night. And just as a question, if they could be made aware of this when they're looking at their scheduling for next year, if they could try and coincide. I know my son and I were waiting for my daughter, and there's lots of families that are sitting in the library, but then they get ushered out at 5 o'clock, and everyone's like, "Oh, we'll stay here a little bit longer." Just do that. Well, only Tuesday and Thursday. We're on Monday, unfortunately, so it won't work. But that's why I thought if we could talk to our community people prior to them scheduling, that would be great for them to know.
Through the chair, yes. We're proposing this to start in February so that we've got plenty of time to talk to our regular hirers and let them know what we're doing.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. No more questions from library hours? Right, next we're on to development service reports. 12.1 is the Karratha Business Enterprise Centre Incorporated, who are asking for some a business development support grant. The officer's recommendation is to approve a 2-year funding request to the Karratha Business Enterprise Centre as follows: $20,000 for Enterprise Hub Karratha sponsorship for 25-26 year, and then another $20,000 for sponsorship for 2026-27 year, and to approve a budget allocation of $20,000 per year for 2 years from the business development support grant budget commencing in 2025-26. Does anyone have any questions on this grant application funding request?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I dropped in there last week to have a look. They've done a fair bit of work. I've been quite impressed with the new layout. They've got 24 desks, so 4 staffs. It's quite busy. So it's been an interesting journey with the Enterprise Hub from when it started all those years ago. And with that original $1 million from the Red Grant that we give it one, but it's a great little asset for our town for a startup business, and then for them to provide some more services as well. It's that real good enterprise hub that's incubated. Yeah, I was quite impressed to see a couple of people in there. Yeah, it was impressed. So great to see if we can get behind it.
Yeah. Do you have a question? You're right, they are doing a fantastic job. Yeah, are there any questions relating to the item on the agenda? No? Okay. Right. Oh, there we go, got it. Mouse. What's everyone's got a mouse? All right, 12.2 is the housing development expression of interest closure. With the officer recommendation on page 70, and as the council agree not to receive business plans for the following proposals, which were previously shortlisted under the housing development expression of interest process for business plan preparation at the October 2024 ordinary council meeting, with A being Air International or ayrinternational.com to acquire 57 Balmoral Road, Karratha, and invest up to 16.8 million to construct a proposed mixed-use development, inclusive of 31 residential properties and commercial space. B, Macro Capital, who intended to design and construct up to 34 townhouses on the city-owned land at 51 Gregory Way at an estimated cost of $13.8 million. And C, Davison Property, who intended to acquire lots 633 and 678 in Gingari, which is in Nickel, and invest up to $55 million to construct a housing development inclusive of 20 group townhouses, 10 houses, and 87 group dwellings. 2 is to endorse the closure of the housing development expression of interest process. And 3 is to agree to discontinue discussions with Development WA to progress the corporation housing proposal, and that no further report to council is required to consider the potential acquisition of land to enable the corporation housing proposal. 4 is to resolve to continue to engage with interested parties on ad hoc housing development proposals, where the city can play a role in enabling or facilitating the development. Are there any questions around this? Noting that we're closing off the expression of interest because we obviously decided favourably for those we're moving forward with.
I only had one. Just with regards to the co-op, I know that was it was a popular sort of incentive around the table. I don't believe that it ever went to public comment because it wasn't shortlisted. No. So I was just wondering, because this is quite final, are we able to has there been much documentation so far between City of Karratha and Dev WA?
Through the chair, Dev WA is less of the party that we're interested in relation to that development than corporation housing. And the long and the short of it is that corporation housing were not able to be able to provide a succinct proposal to us that would be worthy of support. I think they have a good model that I hope works for them in Richcliffe in the southwest. But they were looking for effectively for the city to lead that for them, and we got the permission to do that.
That's a long lead time as well, isn't it?
It's a very complex model because it's a lease and you're requiring people to buy into a lease. They don't have allocation of land. It's a tricky one to be able to sell to lenders because it's lease rather than freehold purchase. Yeah. It's just got a lot of complexities that make it a difficult one for us to support unless they can come up with a fairly detailed proposal that would clarify what role the city would take in the process.
And we're making news again for being the highest rental cost.
Through the chair, that's correct. So our median rental value is $1,400 a week.
Yes, we hold the trophy, but I'm not sure this one we want to hold on to for too long.
No, not at all. And you know, we mentioned a moment ago the fact that the city has been recognised for its leadership in this space, but I think our capacity, both in terms of resourcing and in terms of financials, is limited. So there are some great proposals here that you know, as we've said, we're happy to engage with interested parties. If there are others that want to bring solutions to the table, absolutely, we would love to see and be an enabling partner. But there's only so much the city can do itself, and I think this is a really responsible proposal that's being presented to council, which is we've done our part and we're closing out a really innovative piece of work.
Thank you, CEO. Any other questions? All right, moving on to 13, projects and infrastructure reports. 13.1 being the cleaning services, request to call for tenders with the officer's recommendation on page 76. The council agreed to invite tenders for cleaning services for a period of 3 years with 2 by 1 year extension options, exercise of sole discretion of the city in accordance with the scope of works as outlined in this report. Does anyone have any questions or recalling while we're at this stage?
I just had one question about like the Dampier Community Hub, Pam Buchanan and Frank Butler. Do we do all those in-house?
Are you aware of that? Acting director?
Actually, no.
Okay, can we take that one on notice? Thank you.
I just
Not listed, are they? Councillor Pillon.
No.
Contract.
just had one as well, and I think I raised it last time too, and I know we don't typically see what's in the scope of works for tenders, but given the waste management strategies being reviewed and that sort of thing too, is the cleaning contract tender looking at other waste streams other than general waste in relation to our own facilities? So offering waste separation within our own facilities, which then would, I recall a while ago sort of saying, you know, no, we can't have a recycling bin because the cleaners don't empty it because it's not a part of their contract. So being in the forward thinking of that.
I'm going to take that on notice because I would have to go through and look at what's in the scope for the RFT to be really clear, and probably talk to the manager of waste about what was discussed last time.
So we'll come back to you on that one.
However, Councillor Swapper, I think that we're having a strategic planning session in November, and there probably is an opportunity that maybe we can do a review on recycling as a whole within the city of Karratha. Could potentially be something we bring up to discuss as a group, and whether we want to pursue something like that or not. Just keep that in the back of your mind, perhaps. Any other questions on the cleaning request for tender? No? Okay, 13.2 is the Wickham boat ramp scope confirmation and budget forecast adjustment. With the officer's recommendation on page 681, that is to endorse the preferred concept design option of a dual lane boat ramp with a finger jetty and a sealed car park at Wickham Boat Beach, aligning the service provisions at comparable locations and progress to detailed design. And 2, agree to update the long-term financial plan to reflect the estimated construction costs of $6.8 million to be allocated across the 26-27 and 27-28 financial years. Where is Councillor Nunn? Because there is a lot happening out in Wickham.
And we've got a presentation on this.
We have a presentation on this one. Hold your questions. We have a presentation.
Thanks, Mayor, CEO, councillors and exec. So yeah, Wickham boat ramp is reached concept design. We've done a fair bit of work on progressing it through engagement with the community. So design is as quoted in the recommendation. We're looking at a dual ramp. We're looking at an improvement of the car park for a couple of reasons. And obviously through the concept design, identification of a groin improvement was identified. Obviously, if you're going to build such a significant asset for the community in Wickham, protection of that is paramount, became more and more evident through the process. So that's the consideration. That's the current picture of what the design looks like. It's a shortening of the toe, so it's not as long. It's a lengthening of the transition ramp before you reach the ramp. So it'll look considerably different inside, on site. Next slide is some of the communication, the community consultation that we've done along the way. So workshop we made with the community out at Wickham, Community Hub, Department of Transport, DOT, did some work with them around the compliance and what we need to be considering and making sure the ramp is a compliant ramp for use by the public. DPCA around turtles and timing, obviously, what kind of lighting we need, so there's been some consideration around environmental DPCA. Port Marine, size of their boat, so looking at what size vessel they have as a sea rescue vessel and making sure it can use the ramp. This is key considerations. The yacht club, the use of the yacht club, obviously, our key components of the workshop was, and that provided some further updates afterwards, some further engagement. Emergency services were reached out to Rio Tinto as one potential funding body, and 2 an adjoining landowner, so they're directly next to the site with this program being built. Budgeting and timing, estimated value there of 6.82 million. It is upwards of the last time I saw this presented to the council. It's the only other time I've been to this council, so thanks for having me.
Welcome back, Troy.
It's I think we talked then about it being 4.2 to 4.7, and what's $500,000 when you can get double the ramp is some of the commentary that I went away with. So it has, I appreciate it has gone to up from there. The groin is a considerable part of that. There's a piece of for the groin. Obviously funding wise, DOT funding to apply for, and we're waiting for an approval by that in December. So the submission has been received and noted as accepted the content of it. So we're waiting for an approval in December for that small amount of money, and then obviously further funding opportunities using our funding partners for the project to proceed. So the last one, there's just a constraint around the timing. April to September is the only time we can construct the work. That's around environmental constraints of turtle nesting and noise management of sort of what we're doing underneath the water.
Thanks, Troy. Any questions of Troy and the Wickham boat ramp?
Yeah, Troy, I was just asking, so the final approval will come through in December, and I saw initially that, I'll go back up here, read it, it's easy. Sorry, I've lost it now. So the design is due to be, approved by December with construction planned to commence in 26-27.
Yeah, 26-27 is split to 27-28. So it'll be the preliminary works and probably some drawing works in that $1.85 million that year, that budget year, and then obviously the remainder in the 27-28.
Well, there won't be a stoppage, and so the budget restraints the budget. It's looking at 27-28.
Yes, so it'll also be in the time frames required. So the works around the water is the considerable part. And then there's works on land we can do. If there's works on top of the ride we can do. Obviously, parts of the constrained period, and that'll count for both years. So it'll be a staged approach. Potentially, it's looking like we'll do the groin improvements first, and then obviously car park and boat ramp at the same time. Because the consideration for the car park is there's a requirement from DOT that the entry needs to be slightly. I'm getting a little technical. Apologise. The level's being lifted to be compliant, and obviously the car park and the construction for the new ramp is needing to be done at the same time. Or else, if you did the ramp now, you'd actually be sitting there in your trailer, backing up onto the ramp, and having to go up a rise on top of the transition, and then down. So there is some complexities around that, but at the moment, for budgeting and budgeting consideration, we're looking at splitting over those 2 years.
Troy, if I call into, would you consider yourself a marine person?
I own 3 boats,
Okay.
but technically qualified.
I think you're quite qualified to answer my question.
Yep.
I really want to commend the community consultation that's gone on with this. I would like to know, as someone who's not an expert in the marine space, how would you see it as us being able to listen and gather the feedback and actually sort of deliver on what people were asking? Would you say that we've been able to, within the parameters, deliver on what's then obviously we can't help?
Medium to high. I think through the process we provided 3 options at the May engagement.
Yeah.
We had the consultant there directly talking, present, not on Teams, present with the project team and the engagement team. We started off with a bit of a strategy of having the one ramp, the lowest, and then the same presentation we put to council. We went through 2 and 3, and the reaction, to be honest, was pretty much direct to the reflection of viewers, councillors. That's what we got from the people. They kind of started off. I was surprised they started, and we had Slido, obviously direct engagement. So Ingrid was sitting there plugging out the data, and we had live. So people just sitting there watching people change their votes. Instead of sliding.
So Slido is a mobile phone tool where people can vote as you're talking, right?
Locked in, they voted as we presented. They voted, and people, you're sitting there watching it, and obviously you had multiple presenters. You could see people looking, nodding, or shaking their head. Then you looked at the screen, and they kept moving. But so it started off higher than I thought, and progressed with each option to a more level of acceptability to above satisfied is the grading. So there was some feedback received after from mainly the yacht club around reducing the. So it's obviously Dylan, I can't forget his name, their last name, but Dylan's the president.
Yeah.
Well, the president.
Let's perhaps just suggest you had feedback from the organisation.
Yeah.
And so what was their feedback?
The feedback was that, obviously on reflection of the engagement was potentially reducing the amount of ramps, looking at a lesser option. That was probably more of a position where we felt it was, reduce the use of the community. So, obviously building something like we're proposing to build is going to increase the usage of the area.
And you're confident that the additional groin upgrade is insurance enough for the asset?
It's an accepted position from our working groups. It's not going to cover us for all weather events, but it's in line.
It was almost a direct.
Yeah, so it's in line with our other assets. So Danby Boat Ramp, Johns Creek, Back Beach, and Karratha. It is, if not dead level is a slight improvement.
Thank you.
And Drew, what was I'm interested to know what the feedback was around the community. I've seen that it was quite high. They didn't want line marking and any sort of organisation of the car park. What's the thought around that?
So we led that discussion a little bit in formalising a car park, reduced the amount of available parking. So we made that a known quantity. So yes, it looks nice and pretty and you've got lines, but you reduce the actual numbers. So we used a picture from their extravaganza fishing event, which shows the car park maxed out. So they had boats and cars and stuff everywhere. And then we showed directly on the back of that the detail of layout. If we did do a lines and signs design, and we quoted the number was like 27 car bays maximum, where they had over 100 cars.
Right. Okay. There you go. I can understand now why the graph was so far one direction.
And then sealed and non-sealed, the community had a little bit of debate about the use after hours for that facility. So obviously the tracks are fair bit of night activity. So cars and misuse of cars was a concern of the community. And then there was some conversation around sealed or unsealed, and they had on with their help sealed and online.
Very good stuff. Thank you, Troy. No further questions? No.
Cool. Thank you. I'll sit down.
Right, next is the 13.3, the Wickham Rec.
Who's doing that presentation? Troy.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone up.
Let me run through it. Let me run through it.
Okay.
So this is the tender outcome for the long-awaited shade of the course. Wait to announce with the officer's recommendation on page 90, and that is that council accept the tender submitted by Emerge Proprietary Limited as the most advantageous tender to win the contract. And 2, authorise the CEO to execute a contract with Emerge subject to any variations of one in nature, and importantly to Rio Tinto confirming funding. That's an important point. And 3, note the project estimate is revised down to 6.2 million. Project is to be fully reimbursed by Rio Tinto and all allocated across this financial year and 2026-27. As follows: 3.45 million for the hardcourt shade, and 2.7 million in 26-27, for a total of 6.2 million. And then Rio Tinto's contribution over those 2 proposed years to equal the amount expended. Troy.
Cool, thank you. I'll just wait for the slide to come up. Local Court Shade project for Wickham. As the Mayor mentioned earlier, quite a fair bit happening for the city projects in Wickham. There's been a significant amount of community consultation for this project as well, with key stakeholders, user groups, and community members themselves. So to a feasibility study. And the objectives of the feasibility study are listed there. So to generalise those dot points, you're looking at comfort, use. So obviously making a shaded area, which increases the usage of facilities. So it's the existing courts with a roof over the top, with a surfacing reseal. So it's really looking at trying to increase the usage in summer and usage during the day. That's some of the key objectives we're trying to get out of it. One of the things that was identified through the feasibility study was the courts needing some access for vehicular sanitation and cleaning of the courts, which it currently doesn't have been a retained site. So including that in the project was something that was identified. The design, I just talked to it broadly, has afforded for shade over not just the courts but the runoff areas. So you have a requirement for sporting organisations to have a 3 to 6 metre runoff area. So the runoff area and a pathway around the line courts are allowed for. It also allows for some shading over the seating and some of the storage. So obviously you see storage in the back there. It's not fully shaded, but it's somewhat shaded. The surface integration for the build is a scoreboard. You can see a depiction of that at the top. There's lighting for night play. And there's also water in the umpires. It's called an umpires mini shed, which is the middle shed on that picture there. So there is a water fountain provisions within the project. The fixed shade to the west, so this is looking at it from here, so from the west. Obviously, that's an attempt to create that evening shade, provide the best amount of court. Obviously, the fire ratings and different things go into the design parameters, but the shade was chosen to be there with no shade on the north. So it's fixed solid shading on the west. The foundations and the structure poles will be located to not impact the existing courts. Obviously, for the not being considerably upgraded, they're just being worked around. So the design allows for that. Tender outcomes, obviously, are positive. I think it's something that the Aiken Director for Project Infrastructure alluded to before. It's evidence of a recent win for our team, and the fact that the prices received for evaluation were below the estimates. So that was a nice thing for the evaluation team to look at. Obviously, in the back of communication, continued engagement with the community, and this is a fully funded project from Rio. So it's very similar to Wickham Oval, which is another of our projects which has just started. It will be fully funded by Rio. Obviously, the last note there, planning coordination with Wickham Oval. This will happen at a start date of April, which I'll show on the first slide. Directly after the Wickham Oval is reopened. So next steps to this project, probably linked a little bit there with the October 25. So tender award next week for council will lead to a formalisation of the funding agreement for Rio Tinto. That was in line with the same it was for Wickham Oval. So I'm sure this will be exactly the same once they've got the deal in actual. So once we've received an awarded tenderer, funding approval will be finalised. The meeting is planned for both projects on the 19th of November in Wickham. So we'll have both projects one after the other on the 19th of November. And then the construction plan to start April. Then obviously we see the project there finishing in December 26.
Victoria, any questions around the shade? You do for you, Councillor Swapper.
No, thank you, Victoria. That was very informative. Has there been any further consideration for the expansion of shade to cover the indoor cricket and tennis courts, especially considering the tender was significantly under budget?
From my knowledge, there's been no value adding to the project. Obviously, the project was evaluated and the award recommendation will be as scoped. So there's been no change to the scope from the project's team.
And perhaps, Councillor, if I could just add to that, these projects that we manage at Wickham, there is a lot of work that goes into scoping them out in consultation with Rio Tinto, who are effectively the owners of that site and are funding the project. So we go through a lot of lead time up front in getting all of those foundational and scoping pieces right, and then multiple layers of approvals. So it's a much more complex process than we have for our other recreation spaces. So if we haven't defined some of those requirements at the outset, it's really, really difficult for us to integrate at a later stage. I don't want that to sound critical. It's about just understanding that we're navigating through multiple layers of governance through two different organisations. And so we try and get the brief really clear up front.
Can we add a section next time? If we're under budget, we'll expand. And then, so the proposed timeframe is April, which is, yep. And then will it include like the fencing? And I know you said there's water provisions in the shed. Is that actually, will there be drink fountains outside of the shed? So active users that aren't there to get a lock and key to get water?
From what I understand, it will be in the shed. Obviously, it's a part of a match day umpiring environment. So that's where the water is identified to go at the moment. Obviously, there can be some changes to a design. Obviously, appreciative of what the CEO just talked about, a massive scope. If there's something that's been moved, we go through a process where if it is in the shed, it can be moved outside the shed.
Yeah.
The whole project in its entirety is linked to be an overlay of an existing area. So it's the opportunity for a full reconstruction hasn't been a part of the design.
Yeah.
It really is a retrofitted shade on two city courts.
I think water has definitely been an issue out there on multiple
I'm going to take that
So,
away. and
yeah.
report back to the team.
Through the chair, it does consider a water fountain. I just need to confirm whether it's inside the shed or
Yeah,
outside.
and I feel like through the consultation, we definitely had said that it would be better outside for access.
I have a feeling it is
Yeah.
outside the main, what will become the umpire. water.
Yeah. If you
I'll
could
double check
confirm
that.
that, that would be great. And then is there any support plan for user groups? Like, so that would probably more so be netball than basketball, but through the construction period or?
So I think without being directly, obviously, I think you can tell from my presentation, I'm directly involved with Wigan Boat Ramp, and not directly involved with.
Three votes,
so
not three, not.
I'm still Mr. Newton, not Mr. Wickham. Getting very close. So there's an information session workshop with all the community for the oval and for the shades. And obviously, rest there. So obviously that's it.
I might even be able to get the directors in help you with this in terms of how we manage the sporting groups.
Yeah, through the chair. So we still need funding approval for this particular project as well. So there'll be a timeline around that, but there is a all of community information session that is planned for the broader community. But when we do get a bit more surety around funding when this project will commence, we'll be working directly with the clubs to talk through fixtures and availability of those courts.
Thank you.
Mr. Director, yeah.
Thanks.
Councillor Swapper, we will be holding a town hall in Point Sampson. So if Wickham residents are tuning in and they feel like there's more that needs to be done, they can certainly come along and give us some feedback.
Through the chair as well, in a sign of our online working, our PM of this project has commented saying the water fountain is outside.
Brilliant.
For that, live in action.
Thanks for sharing the.
Excellent. That's
Thank you.
great.
Thanks, Joe.
But this is live.
Yeah.
And
This
like
is how fast we can move.
This is how fast we move. Thank you. And that's good.
Okay.
If I may, through the chair, could the manager of governance please check if the book was on?
Yeah. I thought I was middle-aged. I was going to say during the middle-aged on that thing.
Not just you.
Oh, that's you.
Welcome back to Councillor
Yeah,
Furlong,
it's very
Councillor
good.
Roots.
You sit here just assuming it's yourself.
So it's just been turned on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now that everyone's not sweating. 13.4 is the construction and delivery of the footpath program, the tender outcome. Yes,
I'm checking there's a presentation on this one as well.
there is, yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought you were saying on
No,
on
no.
one.
You sorted.
Okay, thank you. With the officer's recommendation being that council accept the tender submitted by Northwest Civil as the most advantageous tender to form a contract based on assessment of compliance criteria, quality criteria and pricing structures for the construction and delivery of the footpath program. And 2, authorise the CEO to execute a contract with NWMC Mining and Civil, subject to any variations, of minor nature. And we have a presentation on, I guess we get a picture of where these footpaths are going to be.
Yes.
Welcome, Brian.
We did program the aircon to come on.
Tuesday night.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday, not for Monday. We did fix that.
Yeah, that's where you are on Tuesday. Thanks, manager. I appreciate you trying to keep me cool.
Some background on the footpath program. So there is an endorsed 10-year footpath strategy. We are under review of the next 10-year footpath strategy. That's currently under review. As the acting director of projects and infrastructure mentioned, this is a bit of a catch-up year from the 24-25 program. We have previously gone out to tender and had multi-year service contracts, and that's been our delivery method. After 3 attempts of doing this over the last 5 or so years, it's not really worked out very well. So we've kind of changed our tactic a little bit this time, and we put out an 18-month contract. And basically, it was a package of works, a suite of works. Everyone knew what they were signing up to, had the designs, everything ready to go, and that's sort of our new tactic now. And how we progress through this will then determine if we go back to a multi-service contract or continue on the path we're doing. So, kind of looking at our procurement options as well. For the scope, there's 9 shovel-ready footpath projects already designed as part of the tender. I'll run through those locations in a second. There was a $5 million allowance for this. Within this tender is coming under that budget, which is great. We did put in a provision of scheduled rates requested for additional possible works of $2.5 million, which is awarded through council in the court tender process. And that is for some projects that weren't quite shovel-ready, that we are working on at the moment to get them shovel ready, so that if we do work well with the contractor, then that's $2.5 million then we spend as well and finish off some of our program and possibly even do some of next year's program. So that's the scope. As far as the areas, we have 2 streets in Roebourne. So we have the Queen Street, which links into Hampton near the hospital, that links down Queen Street and connects in the 2 footpaths. We didn't progress with those works in last year because we had some issues with the embankment and the levels. We've now been able to resolve that, and now it's good to go. Greenfield Road, which will connect the Andover Park all the way down to Harding Street near the Roebourne School Oval. And that's been working in collaboration with Main Roads WA as well to get that project to go ahead. And then Namatjura Road, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, in Dampier. And that's about connecting through some of those 2 main RTE roads through Dampier as well. So that's what we're doing at Dampier and Roebourne. Karratha, we have the Enderby Street in Nickel. We did works down Delanbray Street to connect in Tanbray Drive to Nickel Road. And Enderby Street was about connecting from Delanbray Road back around across Enderby Road, where there is actually an existing footpath that goes back up to Nickel Road. So that's about connecting in a gap, which is there, filling that. Blinko Road to the right is in Peggs Creek, which will connect Dampier Road with Gawthorne Drive, which connects into the Peggs Creek School as well. So currently there's no footpath through there, so that connects in connectivity. Boshwalk Circle, which is another one in Nickel on the top there. It's connected in from Falcon Parade down to Bayview Road, another road which is missing a footpath and will connect in, which also allows a bit better usage of connectivity to the existing paths through Nickel West. And then Ridley Street on the bottom, which is located in Bulgara, which connects in from 2 streets inside Warrior Grant, connects in, and obviously allows for a better connection through a lot of apartment blocks and things through there. We then have Shadwick Drive as well, which is located in Mill as well. That's connecting from Gawthorne Drive up round to the 16-foot through Shadwick Drive, and the crossover for the underpass that goes up to Bayton as well. So that connects in there. So find a lot of people using the underpass, then don't really have much of an area where they go with footpaths. So that Shadwick Drive connects them into Gawthorne Drive, which then connects into Kevin Richards Memorial Oval and Mill as well Primary School, which is great. And then one of the largest suites of the project is Strickland Drive in Mill as well, which connects in through Gawthorne Drive all the way back round to Higham, and also includes a section of Higham that hasn't had a footpath as well. So that connects in really well to all those existing users and very close proximity to Gawthorne Drive and Dampier Road as well. That's our programme.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions on our footpath program? Noting that will now be easier to long walk from Bank West to the Cats Oval, but this will make us slightly more comfortable. Chadwick.
I've actually got one for so much.
Adrian.
More of a first statement than a question. There's residential construction works happening on Ridley Street over the next 12 months. Pretty much in the same stretch of that. So just a consideration needs to be managed, so not just about anything there.
Probably something we can take offline rather than discuss that in a public briefing.
Picking up on making things happen live.
True. Yeah, but we are making things happen live. But yeah, good observation for us to make sure that's coordinated, right?
I just got a you're good, Brian, just more around the item that's in front of us, and the question around asking to do with the tender process. I've noticed in the last couple of years, especially at our annual electors meeting, we had people here in the audience that hadn't been paid for doing another road of a contract that went to a company out of town. I noticed tonight we've got the cleaning contract, and this one particular, I noticed Google both businesses, once here in Karratha and Broad Basin has worked. The other one was a Perth-based one. But when I noticed the criteria that we use, we don't have any local content waiting for it. For a business in town that employs local people, I feel there should be a bit of a wait there. And I guess it's probably a bigger question and not more around this item, but maybe around an item of Does our tender policy come up for review sometimes? I think they'd have a bit of discussion around that because this is great. We go away to the contractor, but I did notice now the town one. So just noted in a couple of them, the tender process is not weighted for a local business.
There is a 10% price preference policy on all tenders, but I take your point. CEO, who's the best to answer this one?
Yeah. So through the chair, our tender process includes a local contractor item. They're equated up to 50% discount in the price weighting, which in our policy is generally the highest weighted criteria at 40% minimum. So when we go through and compare the local pricing, they end up getting a price discount of what they actually tender, which creates their weighting to go higher. In our policy, that's the current process.
And it's not reflected here at all.
It should be in the evaluation report. You'll see under the scoring matrix that we have a local price preference.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Check it.
And can I confirm what's considered local? Like, should Port Hedland be considered local?
No.
It's a business registered within the city of Karratha.
Is there a maximum amount for the, am I reading that right? Yeah, so is that in every level of tender?
For the personal, for the pricing, local pricing preference? Yeah, that's applied consistently.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's up to 10% up to 50,000, depending on the volume of the tender.
And just for clarity, that's not something that we can change. Is that what's correct, isn't it? It's a state legislation.
So we've actually got the manager of governance that is.
So state legislated, we've got the maximum allowance available in our policy.
Up to 50.
Up to
50K.
50,000. Yeah.
And 10%.
No.
Correct. Yeah.
So can we, and so you can't add your own.
You can't add anything extra on top of that mandated.
So Tony, on the Appendix A, under the pricing schedule is qualified for RPP, that is regional price preference.
Regional price, okay. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
There's also a section in the sustainability, which is the 5% weighting, which does have local content as well. So they can make a comment on the local content, and also in the capacity to deliver section, you allow, they'll talk about it, the contractors or possible subcontractors is talked about in local as well.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, no more questions on footpath program. Right, 14 is the chief executive office reports, with 14.1 being the items of information only. The officer's recommendation on page 99, the council noted the following items: the community experience update, the concession on fees for city facilities, and the development services update. Are there any questions on any of the information? No. No, the numbers are up in all places. The leisure flex is going well. No. Okay. 15 is motions of which previous notice has been given. There is none. 16 questions by members of which due notice has been given. There is none. 17 is urgent business approved by person presiding for decision, which there is none. 18 is matters behind closed doors, but there's just attachments attached to it. So therefore, I declare the meeting closed at 7:28 p.m. So thank you everyone for your attention.